Oh, we're live, yeah. Okay, everyone ready? Okay. Go ahead and call this meeting to order, July 16th, 2024. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Good morning, everyone. We do have a quorum present this morning with 4 commissioners in attendance. Commissioner Richards is on his way. In his other hat, he is a sponsor for the National High School Finals Rodeo, and today was the day for recognizing him and his business for that sponsorship. So I just heard from him about 10 minutes ago, and he's on his way over, so we expect him shortly. With that, commissioners, if you've all had a chance to review the agenda and there are no changes or corrections, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Next up on the agenda is tab A. We've got 4 items under the Planning and Zoning Department this morning. First being the approval of Resolution 2407Z001, a variance for a 3-foot encroachment into the 20-foot front setback and a 3-foot encroachment into the rear setback of a 10 feet from Section 5G of the 2015 zoning resolution as requested by Penny Hensley. With us this morning is Planner Cassidy Brown. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you. So for our first one, today, our variance, we've got property in, well, it's at 4155 Rio Verde Drive, and it's a mixed residential zone. For our infrastructure, it's Jamestown Rio Vista Water and Sewer District, Green River Fire Response Area, Rocky Mountain Power, Dominion Energy, and we're on Rio Verde Drive or County Road 1198 within the growth management area. And this is property owned by Jesse Lauder. The applicant here is Penny Hensley. The property that we're looking at is right here. We can see we're, within our residential zone. And then this is just our aerial view. This just, as a quick aside, is an older picture. It's from 2023. There is not currently that trailer on the property. So what we're looking to do today is a variance for an encroachment that will be 3 feet into the front setback of the required 20-foot setback, and to encroach also 3 feet into the rear setback of 10 feet. And this property, again, it's owned by Penny Hensley's son, Jesse Lauder. Hensley intends to relocate the 16 by 76 foot manufactured home that she currently resides in to this property, and then live on that property in the home. The setback variances would allow for the intended relocation of the 16 by 76 manufactured home to take place. So we've got our views here, and as you can see, this is currently an empty lot, views to the north, south, east, west, and this was posted June 26th, 2024. So moving on to our review criteria that we looked at for this variance, the first is, are there any special circumstances or conditions that, would support us having a variance here? This subdivision is fairly old, this part at least platted in the 1960s, and the lot sizes then were meant to accommodate much smaller homes. And according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median square footage of manufactured homes built in the 1960s was 800 square feet. And median lot size for a home of that size would have been approximately 0.19 acres. The dimensions of this property are 65 feet by 10 feet, which is 0.15 acres. And the median home for median size for a manufactured home today is, around 1,100 to 1,200 square feet. And so this property itself is not large enough to accommodate for most modern manufactured homes while also meeting the required setbacks. On to our next one, for reasons fully set forth in the commission's and board's findings, the circumstances or conditions are such that the strict application of the provisions of the Sweetwater County zoning resolution would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the land or building. The granting of the adjustment is necessary, or the reasonable use thereof, and the adjustment as granted is the minimum adjustment that would accomplish this purpose. We find that granting this setback is necessary for that 16 by 76 foot manufactured home to be relocated to the property. By the adjustment is the minimum adjustment that's necessary for the home to fit on the property. And that's just the 3 feet into the front setback, the 3 feet into the rear setback. And this home, because it is already owned by Penny Hensley, our applicant, and the property is already owned by her son, Jesse Lauder, denial of the variance would result in a hardship for the applicant. And our final review criteria here is the granting of the variance is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning resolution and will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. Staff really took some time here to think about how we would want to present this to have the least impact possible. And because we knew we would need an overall total of 6 feet for this home to fit onto the property, we thought about, well, how can we best do this in a way that's going to be, least impactful? And we figured that splitting it 50-50, 3 in front, 3 in back would be the least impactful. It lessens the visual impact of the adjustment. There's still adequate space for parking. And we also have a alley at the back of this property. And so that also kind of lessens that impact there. We did have some agency comments on this. Mark Berry from Lubin said records show copper facilities in the area. Jared Larson, Real Estate Services, Phillips 66 Company, says Phillips 66 Company on behalf of Pioneer Pipeline has no comment on this project. Christy Talon with Rocky Mountain Power did say, please be mindful of the location of your meter pole in relation to where you want to place the house. It should be at least 3 feet away from the building and the service wire cannot go over the home. This site has an active meter. RMP has no other issues with this location. And this is, these comments were shared with the applicant prior to the public hearings, and they've met with Rocky Mountain Power and kind of worked things out with them as well. So at the July 10th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the P&Z Commission voted 5-0 to recommendation for the variance application for 3 feet encroachment into the 20-foot front setback and 3 foot encroachment into the rear setback, with the one staff recommendation recommended condition, which was just that the variance applies specifically and exclusively to the manufactured home owned by Hensley that's proposed to be relocated to this property. And that's everything that I have for this one. I would also just like to mention that our applicant is here in person today.
Thanks, Cassidy. Appreciate the explanation. Any questions for staff on this variance, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman?
well, the trailer is 76 by 16. The lot is 65 by 10. How'd you get the sides out? The lot is only 10 feet wide. The trailer is 16 feet wide.
It's fine. Oh, I may have typed something wrong. It's should be 100 feet wide. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's 100 feet wide?
Yes.
Oh, much better. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for staff?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Slaughter?
with plats which were done at that time, I believe this is the exact reason for having zoning amendments. I think that this fits within. I think that by moving 3 feet of the trailer on one side, 3 feet on the other, we have minimized that. I think it's something that should be allowed, and I would support it.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any other comments or questions for the variance? If not, we do need to open this up for a public hearing. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to the resolution before us, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would move forward recommendation 24-07-Z0-01 for approval of the variance application for a 3-foot encroachment into the 20-foot front setback and a 3-foot encroachment into the rear setback of 10 feet from section 5.g of the 2015 zoning resolution requested by Penny Hensley.
Do you have a motion to approve resolution 2407-Z001 by Commissioner Slaughter? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion?
And just, sorry, with the staff condition about the, just that, the variance only applying to the manufactured home. If that's all right, that's,
Yeah,
going
and
to be moved on there.
that's what the P and Z approved, right?
Yes.
With that?
Yeah.
So that's how it's being presented?
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to
No, that's
clarify.
okay.
Yes.
That's how you understand
Okay.
it too, though? Okay,
Yes.
very
Thank you.
good. Everyone good with that?
Yep.
Okay. We do have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any further discussion?
Have they considered putting the trailer the other way on the 100-foot and the 76 this way? Then you wouldn't have had to go into the, or would that? Oh, okay. Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Next up is the approval of resolution 2407-Z002, a variance application for a 3-foot encroachment into the 20-foot front setback and a 3-foot encroachment into the rear setback of 10 feet from section 5G. Is this the exact same thing?
Mr. Chairman, it's very, very close. We're looking at now the same applicants here, but this time it's on behalf of Jesse Lauder. He owns a property, just a few properties down another one. They're looking to do the same thing.
Interesting. Okay, I'll hand it back to you.
All right, well, thank you. So the property here is located at 4121 Rio Verde Drive. Again, mixed residential, and it's like it's basically the same situation as before, so I'll try not to repeat too much. The lot dimensions are the same, the manufactured home dimensions are the same. We're just 2 properties over from the first hearing. And so we have another empty lot here that's owned by Mr. Lauder. We're just looking to be able to encroach 3 feet into that front setback, 3 feet into that rear setback, to be able to allow the applicant to reside in the manufactured home at this location. Because everything here is the same, lot dimensions are the same, I've kept that also the same in the review criteria. Here we have the posting of our pictures. You can see the view to the north, south, east, and west, posted June 26, 2024, of the property in question. So our reasons for going forth with the variance, again, is just this lot size is simply too small to accommodate this home. This is the minimum adjustment that's necessary for the owner to be able to use their lot and to have their home on this property. And by splitting that encroachment evenly, staff finds that this lessens the overall impact of needing the variance. The one thing that was a little bit different on this one is for our agency comments. The other two are the same. Mark Berry from Lumen said, when looking at records, we show copper facilities near the area. Jared Larson, Real Estate Services, Phillips 66 Company says, Phillips 66 Company on behalf of Pioneer Pipeline has no comment on this project. Christy Talon with Rocky Mountain Power did have something a little bit different to add to. Just said, please be mindful of the location of your meter pole in relation to where you want to place this house. It should be at least 3 feet away from the building and the service wire cannot go over the home. The site does not have an active meter. There is an old meter pole, but it will need to be brought up to code and a state electrical pulled before RMP will install a meter and or connect service. RMP has no other issues with this location. And again, this is something that the applicant's been made aware of and has already discussed with Rocky Mountain Power. And with that, at the July 10th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the P and Z Commission voted 5-0 to recommendation of this variance. With the one staff recommended condition that the variance applies specifically and exclusively to the 17-foot by 76-foot manufactured home owned by Jesse Lauder that's proposed to be relocated to this property.
Very good. Thanks, Cassidy. Appreciate that. Any questions on this variance, commissioners, for staff? If not, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for the approval of resolution 2407-002, a variance application. If there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to speak to this variance, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion as presented.
Do you have a motion by Commissioner Toman for the approval of resolution 2407-002? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. And welcome, Commissioner Richards. We're
Apologize for
under,
my tardiness. Had rodeo stuff to do.
no problem. We are under tab A, item number 3, just so you're caught up to speed here, which is the approval of resolution 2407-003, a conditional use permit for a 120-foot cell tower as requested by Carlos Usnar. I always mess that one up, with SAC Wireless on behalf of Union Wireless, and we'll hand it back to Cassidy.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are looking at a property at 307 Blairtown Road in Rock Springs, Wyoming. Current zoning is I2 heavy industrial. Infrastructure, we've got Fire District number 1 response area, Rocky Mountain Power, Dominion Energy, and it's on Blairtown Connector Road, County Road 51 within the growth management area. Property owner here is Wiley Construction, Inc., Bill Wiley. So here is our property that we're looking at. We can see that the adjacent properties are also zoned for industrial use and ag use. And then I've circled the actual site location on this map here, so you can kind of get a feel for where on the larger parcel this would be proposed to be going. So SAC Wireless, on behalf of Union Wireless, is proposing a new 120-foot self-support tower to replace an existing 45-foot tower. They're going to be putting in the 120-foot self-support tower with ancillary facilities. And the thing here is that the new tower will have the structural capability to accommodate additional future co-locations. And I did forget to adjust this after we discussed things with at the previous public hearing, but The existing 45-foot tower that is on the property will be removed after the new tower is built. We've kind of come to different terms on what that timeline might look like. Instead of 2 years, we discussed 2.5 years, and that is what the Planning and Zoning Commission had voted to recommend as well. But that gives Union Wireless time for there to be a major network change out to get the tower up and running and operational, and to have that kind of system switched out without disrupting connection in the area. So this is our view here, north, south, east, and west, posted 5/23/2024. We're looking at a, pretty remote area here. With our review criteria, we do have 9 that we looked at. The first is that the request is consistent with all applicable provisions of the comprehensive plan, and staff finds that this cell tower would help provide additional cell phone coverage, and is just overall beneficial to the community. Number 2 is that the request shall not adversely affect adjacent properties. This tower is 124 feet with the antenna tip, and it won't affect the properties because the fall zone, with the fall zone that is there, it won't cross any property boundaries. So it's very far away from any of the property boundary lines. The setback requirements are, 20 feet, 5 feet from the front, 10 from the side, 20 from the rear. And this proposed tower will actually be very far away from that, about 400 feet from the northwest boundary, 1750 from the east, and 375 from the south boundary. So if that tower were to fall for some reason, it wouldn't fall anywhere near the setback boundaries. In addition, the tower will not generate additional noise, traffic, or vibrations. The third criteria that we looked at is that the request is compatible with the existing or allowable uses of adjacent properties. As we saw on the map, the zoning map, their adjacent properties are zoned for light industrial and heavy industrial use, as well as agriculture. We do find that this request is compatible with those existing uses. And we'd also like to point out that this is an area that we has a lot of the characteristics that we like for a communication facility like this one, because it is fairly rural, like remote. That's what I'm looking for. There's enough terrain there to also kind of disguise the looks of a tower of this size. And because the zoning does fit with those uses, this is just something that the land use department likes when we look at the characteristics of the land for a telecommunication facility. The fourth one we looked at was that the request can demonstrate adequate facilities. Union Wireless is proposing to modify an existing telecommunication facility on a parcel they've leased since 2009. They've had adequate access, power to this facility, and we find that they meet the requirements for both the review criteria 4 and 5 because of this. Our sixth one is that the request has minimized to the greatest degree possible adverse effects on the natural environment. There's no maximum height restriction on structures within the I2 zone. And so, staff does not anticipate any adverse effects on the natural environment for this project. Number 7 is the request will not create undue traffic congestion. This is an unmanned communication site, so we don't anticipate any kind of traffic congestion issues with that. Our 8th review criteria is that the request will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. And again, with how remote this location is and how far away from any of those boundary lines, we don't find that this would be in any way able to adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. And it also won't generate additional noise, traffic, or vibrations. And finally, the request conforms to all applicable provisions of this resolution. This request meets setback requirements. There's no height restrictions in the I2 zoning districts. And with that, staff finds that this request will conform to the provisions of the resolution if this conditional use permit is approved. We did have we had a few public and agency comments, and we also have the applicant's response as well. So we've provided those. And our applicant is also joining us online. So we've got Cynthia Vandermark for SAC Wireless online too, if there's any additional questions that you may have for her. But for our first public or agency comment we got was from Chandler Marsh, Assistant City Planner for Rock Springs. They said City of Rock Springs Ordinance Wireless Communications 13-814.E.2D.ix. Towers over 40 feet in height shall not be located within 1/4 mile from any existing tower that is over 40 feet in height, unless the applicant has shown to the satisfaction of the city that there are no reasonably suitable alternative sites in the required geographic area which can meet the applicant's needs. Our applicant said, they did attach a search and there are no other registered towers within the 1/4 mile of Blairtown West site. In addition, the existing tower on the property right now is not structurally capable of Union's required network changes. Our second comment we had was from Mark Berry from Lumen. No conflict. If they were to require service, Lumen would ask that they bring a 2-inch conduit out to the right-of-way on Blairtown Connector Road. And the applicant said Union Wireless is currently not proposing any additional fiber/utility services at this time. When the need arises and an additional co-locator needs the service, Union will bring the 2-inch conduit to the right-of-way. Christy Talon with Rocky Mountain Power stated, if you intend to have co-location on this tower, we will need to address the power as it's set up for just one small tower. We'll need a newer, larger transformer and service as well as gang metering. Please call to discuss. And the applicant did reach out and speak with Christy Talon and said Miss Christy Talon confirmed on 6/20/2024 that no power upgrades are needed at this time for the new tower, as Union Wireless will be the only co-location on the tower, and that when needed, it will not be an issue to upgrade the transformer. Union Wireless also confirmed that they will reach out to Rocky Mountain Power once they receive a co-location application. Union Wireless is not proposing to upgrade or request additional power services at this time. And then our final comment was Jared Larson, Phillips 66 Company, saying Phillips 66 Company on behalf of Pioneer Pipeline has no comment on this project. And with that, the July 10th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the P&Z Commission voted 5-0 to recommendation of this conditional use permit for a 120-foot cell tower with the 2 conditions that were recommended by staff after amending the first staff recommendation, staff recommended condition from 2 years to 2.5 years. So that the existing 45-foot tower would be removed within 2.5 years post-construction of the 120-foot tower. And then the other condition that staff recommended was that if the height of the tower is to increase above the proposed 120 feet, or if the footprint of the leased area is to increase, the applicant will need to go through the conditional use process again. And that's all I have for this.
Thanks, Cassidy. Appreciate the background. Any questions for staff on the proposed conditional use permit, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman.
I know it probably doesn't fall within the required beaconing, putting beacons on for aircraft. I think it falls under that, but do they put beacons on those towers?
So only if it is over 200 feet in height.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Sounds like we do have a representative online. So if you have any questions for the applicant.
Yes, thank you. This is Cynthia Vandermark. Feel free to, if you have any questions, and I was just going to back up what Cassidy said as well. So for our tower, we won't need to have this tower registered with the FAA.
Thank you.
Cynthia. Any other questions for staff or the applicant?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Slaughter.
Cynthia, how much better coverage do you anticipate having with the 120-foot tower versus the 40-foot tower, which is currently in place?
This will be a significant benefit to the community. Let me see if we actually have a coverage map. We did provide a coverage map here. Let me see if it showed the before and after, which it doesn't look like it did. But what I've been seeing with a lot of the Union Wireless projects is that a lot of times these towers are along major corridors. So, and they're seeing a lack of coverage that's quality. So a lot of calls are dropped. And what we're seeing when with the theoretical coverage maps that we've created, the service dramatically increases in the town as well as these major corridors. And in addition to all of that, Union Wireless is upgrading their network. So it's not just an antenna like for like, it's an actual upgrade. So the service will increase better coverage.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, commissioners? If not, we do need to open this up for public hearing. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to this proposed conditional use permit for Union Wireless, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Jones.
move to approve resolution 24-07-CO-03 conditional use permit for 120-foot cell tower as requested by Carla Jar, SAC Wireless on behalf of Union Wireless.
You have a motion to approve resolution 2407-Z003 by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, I believe, by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Cynthia, and thanks, Cassidy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Final item under tab A this morning is item number 4, a certified resolution to the 2015 zoning resolution 5.f, 5.g, and section 21. And with us this morning is not Eric, but good morning to you.
Good morning. Eric is off on vacation and has asked me to step in his place for this one.
Thanks for being here, Megan.
Thank you. What we're here to request today is approval and certification of the proposed language amendments that we did publish a notice of intent, and you guys agreed to back in May of this year. Just to kind of circle back around, what most of that entailed was just clarification of definitions within the definition section, and then just adding some similarities or more common names that we've seen a lot of people call in and have requests for in the office, and tying that back to our use chart, just trying to make things more accessible and easier for people to use on their own as well. And then the big drive behind the proposed language amendments was, of course, for the use chart to add a new use, which the Game and Fish is wanting for a new inspection and decontamination station down just as you're headed into Firehole, right off 191 there. So we've got all of that updated, and we met and you guys approved back on May 21st, 2024 to approve a notice of intent to move forward with the Administrator's Procedures Act. 45 days have passed since then. We've received no comments. And what we're here today is to first off request a public hearing in order to approve and certify resolution 24-07-CC-01.
Questions, commissioners? Well, thanks, Megan. That's 45 days flew by in some aspects, not in all. With that, if there's no questions, then we would need to open up a public hearing. So if there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to speak to this resolution regarding the language amendments, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure on resolution 2407 CC01?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards,
I'd move to approve the certification resolution 24-07 CC -01. Is that the right motion?
yes, sir.
It is.
Do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
I can second that.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. That's going to conclude tab A this morning, commissioners, and bring us right along into the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. If there's anyone online or in the audience who would like to address the governing body on any issues, now would be the appropriate time. Morning, Assessor Davis.
Commissioners, Dave Davis, Sweetwater County Assessor. I'm just here to give you an update on some things the Department of Revenue discussed with the county assessors at our summer association meeting. One of the things that we were really pushing in the office was the property tax refund program. And Director Henson had given an update to all the assessors. As of July 10th, there's a typo on the information that I sent, but it's her typo, not mine. They've sent over 5,000 refund checks totaling $5.3 million. Their initial budget allotment for the biennium was $20 million for this program. And the department is predicting that they'll spend about 14 million of that 20 this first year. And that's due to the property values going up and expanding the requirements for the income. So they're allowing more people to qualify. So what that's doing is creating more refunds. Now, Director Henson said she is going to work with the governor's office and submit a supplemental budget to try and have some more funding available, because this was for tax year 2023, the one we just completed. There's the biennium also includes 2024, which is the tax year that's coming up. So the moral of the story is they're going to need additional funding to keep this program going at the current level. One of the things that she did discuss was potentially they may have to prorate the amount that's allocated to the refund applicants based on what's left, the funding that's available, but they will get a very small portion of what they got the year before if they end up doing that. I've also included some information that she gave us on the median household incomes across the state. Our median household income has gone up 3.8% from 2022 to 2023. They included the residential tax amount, the median residential tax amount for every county in the state. Ours was about $1,600, making the maximum refund just a little over $800 for people that do qualify. I also included a sheet that had the 2023 and 2024 values per jurisdiction that they had included for the assessors. And just an update, House Bill 45 that was passed in the last session actually capped the increase on residential improvements at 4%. That value for Sweetwater County was 10.4 million in assessed value. That's not market value, that's assessed value. So it was over $100 million or $100 million in actual value that we had actually taken out. I'm sorry, over $1 million that we had taken out of our market value. It's just interesting. In comparison, Teton County, their cap eliminated $150 million of assessed value. That when I did the math this morning, that's $1 billion in market value that was not available to be assessed to provide services in a jurisdiction. So it's just a very, very large dollar amount. One of the other things I wanted to talk about too is the direction that the Revenue Committee gave the LSO after the last Revenue Committee meeting in Casper. And your representative and your lobby group, the Commissioners Association, will probably be getting with you on some of this stuff, but some of the topics that the Revenue Committee wanted to look at was increasing the de minimis personal property amount by $50,000. Right now, there's a $2,400 amount. Anything under that is exempt. What they're talking about doing is changing that to 50,000. And then they want the dollar amounts that is going to, the revenue loss from 50,000 to 100, 100 to 150, 150 to 200, and then 250,000. So they're looking at the breaks to see what the additional reduction is going to be. Then they also want to fully exempt the 350 small oil and gas operators in the state. Now, that's something that's very arbitrary. I don't know how you define that. That seems very unlikely to me, but they are asking for the information on that topic. They also want to look at a clawback provision, which is absolutely horrible tax policy, and I'm not even sure it's even possible. Going back to 2019 for the valuation for property within every jurisdiction, but it would be up to each group of county commissioners to decide whether that's appropriate or not. And again, I would discourage that completely. It just throws uniformity completely out. They're also talking about researching levy limits. They are talking about making the long-term homeowners exemption that starts next year, making it permanent. Currently, it has a 2-year sunset window on it. If they remove that, every homeowner, it's a primary residence, they're 65 years old, they live in their house for 8 months, and they pay taxes in Wyoming for 25 years, they would get 50% off of their property taxes from that point forward. And I think that change is very likely. I think the legislature will probably remove that sunset date. They're also talking about trying to resurrect Senate File 54, which was the property tax bill that the governor vetoed. That would exempt 25% up to the first 2 million of any property owner's value. They also are talking about tangible personal property changes where there's always been an issue with trending and depreciation on personal property. They're trying to stop the trending when the depreciation floor hits so it doesn't continue to trend. They're also looking at the constitutional amendment that's going to be on the ballot this fall. They also want to maybe streamline the tax code on exemptions. The big one in this whole thing is they are actually talking about lowering the assessment rate on industrial property from 11.5% to 9.5%, to actually pull that assessment rate down to what the residential value is. Okay, that is a big change, can be done. So it is something that you just as commissioners need to be aware of. Now, this does not affect our mineral values. This only affects our industrial personal property, our industrial land, our industrial buildings. So it is not nearly as big as messing with the mineral values, but it is going to reduce the amount available to provide services again. So just something to be aware of. And I'm sure Mr. Riemann will be in contact with the commissioners as this is closer. Some of this may die out. Some of this may lose some steam. The elections are coming up. Depending on who wins, some of this may go away. Some of them may continue. There may be stuff that's not even on this table yet, but just stuff that I thought you as county commissioner should be aware of.
Thanks, Dave. You got any good news for us this morning?
It rained yesterday, so it's not that hot. So yeah,
No,
that's all I've got. And some of this may never happen, but it's stuff, the property tax relief or change or whatever you want to call it has still got a lot of steam out there. I personally believe, I think the legislature may have gone too far already. So there's a lot of questions on whether the cap they put in place with House Bill 54 or House Bill 4 is constitutional. I don't know the answer. I don't know who's going to test it, but they're doing an awful lot of changes very, very quickly. And as we all know, the legislature is much more likely to take a tax away. But if they see a need to put a tax back on, that's not very likely. Sales tax on food is a great example. And it's something where Commissioner Slaughter and I talked about this yesterday. It wasn't that long ago. They were talking about raising the assessment rates. The legislature were actually considering taking that 9.5%, 11.5%, and actually trying to move them upwards rather than down. So they're very fickle. And like I said, when they change something and go down or reduce revenue, any change to that is a tax increase. And that's not very popular in Cheyenne. So it's something where we need to be very careful.
Well, we appreciate you keeping us in the loop because been a lot of moving parts with whether it's, reform or refund. And I think you're right. I don't think it's going away, and it'll be the topic for probably several sessions moving forward. So appreciate you keeping your eye on it and helping us, kind of steer it down the right path it needs, because it can get pretty confusing with the different
If you-
amendments.
If you are interested, there was a gentleman that testified at the Revenue Committee meeting in May in Casper. He was with the Tax Policy Foundation and gave fantastic testimony to the department or to the Revenue Committee. He was like at 2:30 in the afternoon on the first day. And this guy was sharp. I mean, he knew exactly what he was talking about, and everything he told them that they had done was bad. They just went right beyond it. I mean, he told them to pump the brakes and just see what happens. They just moved right past it. But this guy knew what he was talking about. He was very, very good. If you have time and are interested, that testimony from that gentleman is very, very impressive. So just something to look for. If you want me to send you the link with the timeframe.
Yeah,
you can.
please do.
Okay, I will do that.
Comments, questions, commissioners? Commissioner Slaughter?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Dave, in our conversation yesterday, we discussed this pretty thoroughly, but just in a concise statement, if any or all of these bills were to move forward, what do you see happening to the amount of money which is available to provide public services through the county?
I don't think there's any doubt that, 2/3 of our property tax revenue goes to schools. So the school districts are suing the Department of Education, or the Department of Education, I think, is suing the state now due to lack of funding. We're reducing property tax revenue to the schools. Everybody says, well, the foundation fund will make it up. How long is the foundation fund going to have that kind of revenue in it? For you guys to provide services to local residents, the 12 mil is a portion of that. I think it's about 17% of what we levy, and your ability to provide services to county residents is going to be shrunk. I mean, there's no way around it. If you don't increase revenue somewhere else, if you reduce property taxes and you don't replace it with someone else, you've got to cut services. That's just all there is to it. So we'll keep an eye on it. When I know something, I'll let you know. The Assessors Association, we were all over this stuff last year, not necessarily testifying on the policy, but testifying on what the ramifications are. We stay out of, we know where our lane is, and it's not policy. That's the legislature's purview. They get to decide what the policy is, but we definitely have the right to tell them what it's going to do. And that's what we've done in the past, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Second question, Mr. Chairman. Dave, we also talked a little bit about what the mineral tax values are currently doing. And you stated what the current month of mineral values has done versus what it had been in the past. If you could allude to that just a little bit.
Yeah, Director Henson had mentioned at the assessors meeting that monthly revenue collections or monthly distributions had been averaging about $65 million a month to local county treasurers. Last month was like 55 million. So there's been a reduction already, and a pretty drastic one. Now, it could be a blip, could be a trend. We don't know, but it's something where I think we need to be aware. So,
Those are significant numbers.
yes. All right. I will try and send you guys that link here shortly.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Okay.
Thanks,
you.
Assessor Davis. Appreciate it. We are still under the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. If there's anyone else that would like to address the governing body, now is your time. Seeing how there's no one else in the audience other than the press, which we appreciate, we will go ahead and close the county resident comments and concerns. This is going to move us right along into tab B, Commissioners, which is the consent agenda. Before us this morning are 6 items. First being the approval of the June 27th, 2024 minutes, the approval of the July 2nd, 2024 special meeting minutes. Excuse me, that was not a special meeting. It was a regular meeting. Third being the approval of county vouchers, warrants, expenditure approval listings, and the EALs. Fourth, the approval of the monthly reports. Fifth, the approval of the abates and rebates. And sixth is a ratification for amendment number 4 to contract for a contract between the Wyoming Military Department and Sweetwater County. Are there any requests, Commissioners, to remove any of these items for further discussion? I do need to remove item number 6, which is the ratification due to a error that we will discuss. So with that, if there's no other requests, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda for items 1 through 5.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimous. Item number 6, which we'll discuss next, is the ratification for that amendment. I printed off a page for you all this morning with a highlighted amount. It was just a typographical error on there in the second paragraph. This amendment is for basically increased funding in the agreement that we have with the Wyoming Military Department. It's spelled out $25, but then in parentheses, it's $25,000. So it should be 25,000. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We do have Gary getting with the military department to get that corrected. But for the time being, I just wanted you all to be aware. And with that, I would entertain a motion to ratify and approve this amendment pending fixing the typographical error as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving right along in the agenda is Commissioner comments, and Commissioner Toman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On July 9th, I attended the Pinedale, the Green River Basin Advisory Group. The State Engineer's Office again gave an all-day thorough review of Wyoming water law. They were reaching out to surrounding communities where there were a lot of irrigators to try to make them aware of what the irrigation, the water right rules were, and also to let them know about possible funding sources for putting more water into pipelines instead of having flood type irrigation. So it was a very interesting meeting, but I couldn't attend 2 meetings, so I missed the Wyoming Landscape Conservation Initiative tour at Seaskiddy. They're in the process of hiring a BLM coordinator and still trying to find another funding source or funder to help them accept outside grants and outside money. On the 11th, I attended our budget hearing here. We also attended the Chamber of Commerce luncheon and presentation by Craig Root for Project West. He shared some very interesting facts about Trona. We learned something new every day. All the glass in the United States made from Trona in Sweetwater County was one of the interesting facts. Then I had relatives attending or come to the farm at Farson from Slovenia. For 5 of them were here. I took them to the National High School Rodeo. They were quite impressed, and I was quite impressed. That's actually the first one I've attended. I've been to the National Pro Rodeo finals in Las Vegas, and let me tell you, this rodeo that we put on in this county, it could very well compete with that one. I mean, they had some great features. It was very well run, and I was quite impressed, as were my relatives. The governor attended that, and we also, as commissioners, were able to attend that opening night for the rodeo. So good job, Candy and crew. Then yesterday, I took the family to Bridger Teton National Forest to Green River Lakes. And it was quite beautiful, quite gorgeous, quite fun, except for the 15 miles of road that took an hour to get there. So I learned, I guess I was doing surveillance for my public lands outreach. When the Bridger Teton begins working on their plan again, I definitely have some ideas for access and recreation. I mean, it's a shame that that road has not been improved all these years. It is the worst thing I've seen. It is absolutely horrible. So there's no need for a road and our trails to be gone into decay like this. And I was also alarmed at the increased amount of bark beetles, dead trees. There are going to be huge fires. And so I hope that the Forest Service will begin to look at ways to try to mitigate some of those problems. So as we work on that Bridger Teton Forest Plan, I definitely gained some new insights yesterday. we had been in that country for 40 years. We left it with our sheep 6 years ago. So it was sad to see that things have deteriorated, not gotten better in that area. Let's see what else. Of course, all the farmers are haying, putting up hay at Farson. We had the best hay crop ever, and then it rained an inch of rain probably yesterday. So we didn't get very many bales didn't get much hay in the bale yet. So we have a lot of drying out to do. So all of the farmers are dealing with that. So upcoming tomorrow, I have the airport board meeting at 8 o'clock. The coalition of local governments, our county partnership with 3 commissions and 6 conservation districts will meet in Lyman all day tomorrow to talk about all the federal plans and processes. On Saturday, we had the Red Desert Parade and then the beginning of the rodeo leading up to the fair. So that's what I'm up to. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate your report. Any questions for Commissioner Toman?
Oh, if I could add one more thing.
Please.
I did catch some of the Republican National Convention last night. It was amazing. The message for hope and unity for this country and the politics was strong. And I hope that this country can come together and do what's best for the country and not continue the little petty fights that have been going on for so long. That was the major message, and it was very powerful. President Trump was there. He was very humble, sad, but he was live. So that was also very amazing. Thank you.
Hear, hear. Well said, Commissioner. Commissioner Richards, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. After our last meeting, I had a great Independence Day with friends and family. Started it by joining Commissioners Slaughter and Treasurer Mark Cowan on a float provided by the Rock Springs Chamber and Whistler Chevrolet for the commissioners at the Liberty Parade in Rock Springs. I figure we gave out about 100 pounds of candy between us, and it was a great event. There was a lot of people who turned out to celebrate the birthday of our nation, and the patriotism was on full display. Later that night, my family enjoyed safely and legally setting off fireworks on our groomed and well-watered property, and then we ventured down to the parking lot of my store on Yellowstone Road, where we watched the City of Rock Springs' public fireworks display. Going home after the public fireworks display proved to be a little difficult, as it seems the City of Rock Springs took it upon themselves to implement some traffic control out north by closing Mesa Drive, a county road, in their attempt to force traffic north onto JY Road. That proved to be a terrible decision and basically turned northbound Yellowstone Road into a parking lot for about 45 minutes. It is my understanding that Rock Springs didn't coordinate with either our Public Works Department nor our Sheriff's Department in making the decision to close one of our roads, so that is something I'll be following up with. Sadly, while a lot of people were having a good time and celebrating, one resident out there didn't fare so well. Longtime resident Kent Maxey's barn caught on fire, and while they were able to save his livestock and his home, the barn was a total loss, along with everything inside it. It is a potent reminder that we all need to be more cognizant of each other and the effects our behaviors can have on our neighbors. Listen, I don't want to see the use of fireworks on private property get banned in Sweetwater County. The reality is that thousands of people enjoy them every year and do it legally and safely, but it just takes one person to not be conscious of where their bottle rocket lands and not make sure that it is safely extinguished to change someone's life forever. After the fire, as well as the many other fires that occurred in the county from likely illegal fireworks, and after seeing the photos of the mess left behind at the events complex parking lot by more people illegally setting off fireworks, it's no surprise that there is a groundswell of support in our community to ban personal fireworks in Sweetwater County. I published an editorial in the Rocket Miner explaining that we as a commission don't have that authority except as a narrowly defined power in the event of an emergency because of high flammable fuel loads and drought. As I've continued to research the topic, along with Wyoming statutes, I found that there is another tool in the box if people of Sweetwater County really do want to take that step and ban fireworks. Again, I don't want to see it happen, but there is a mechanism for it to be done. Just as I said in my editorial, the commissioners don't have that authority, but Wyoming State Statute 35-10-208 gives the electors of the county the authority to adopt a ban on the use and sale of fireworks. If that is really what the people of Sweetwater County want, then what it's going to take is a properly formed petition that has signatures from a number of registered voters equal to 15% of the numbers cast in the last general election, asking for the decision to be placed on a ballot. That would mean working with the county clerk to develop a proper petition, getting the signatures. Currently, that would be a little over 1,800 valid signatures, and meeting all the timeline restrictions to get it on a ballot. It's no small task, but it is something that I think needs to come directly from the people if that is what you want to do. I urge you to be cautious though, because if it's done incorrectly, if the language is not formed properly, there could be unintended consequences. So please tread carefully. Even then, enforcement would be questionable because I'm not sure there would be a criminal component to it, and it might only be able to be enforced civilly. 3510-208 is an imperfect tool, but it is a tool that's there that can be used. All right, moving on. On the 10th, I had a busy day. At 8 o'clock, I joined Commissioner Slaughter and stakeholders for County Road 1 working group meeting. Some great news out of that meeting is that Williams agreed to provide some funding to help us address some of the damage on the first couple of miles of that road. Commissioner Slaughter will probably have more details on that, but a huge thank you to Williams for stepping up and helping. Later that day, I attended the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where they addressed the applications we saw earlier. New Commissioner John Jasperson attended his first meeting, and Rob Gerard was elected as their new chairman, and Kelly Richards was reelected to continue as vice chairman. Following that, I remotely attended a couple of Wyoming County Commissioner Association meetings, including the chair, co-chair meeting and the monthly update. On the 11th, I was happy to be back here with all of you to finally pass a budget. On the 13th, I spent the day at Budding Park for International Day. It was a great day full of music, culture, and fun, celebrating the diversity that makes Rock Springs such a great place to live, work, and play. Sadly, it was while we were there that I heard the devastating news that an assassination attempt was made on the life of former president and current presidential candidate Donald Trump. I'm glad that he survived the cowardly attempt on his life, and saddened that another wasn't so lucky. Listen, we might think that we are insulated from the crazy divisiveness that leads to despicable acts like this, but we're not. I watched a nearly 5-minute long YouTube video that evening of American political leaders and other public figures directly calling for violence against the former president. Many of those same public figures are now calling for both sides to calm down. At the same time, I'm seeing campaign materials being mailed right into our local neighborhoods from out of state and distributed by door hangers right into our communities, and in text messages and phone calls attacking our incumbents, calling them rhinos and insinuating that they need to be hunted down and bagged and tagged. I find it all disgusting and ignorant. There's always room for differences in policy, as long as it is an honest discussion. But ad hominem attacks that are meant to do nothing but dehumanize a political opponent have no place in our elections. It's ridiculous that that kind of behavior has found its way into Sweetwater County. I'll get off my soapbox now and move on to a friendlier topic. National High School Finals Rodeo kicked off on Sunday. Wow, what an event Candy and the staff at the events complex have managed to pull off. There are over 1,900 young athletes competing in various disciplines, as well as their families and friends in attendance. I'd like to thank Governor Gordon, as well as all of you together with representatives from our local city governments, for attending the kickoff event. Having the governor here for a few hours gave many of us a chance to have some good discussions with him about policy issues that we're facing. And I myself had some great discussions with him regarding topics such as workforce housing, air quality, ARPA money, as well as emergency medical services. Again, it's always a pleasure to host the governor in our great little community, and I appreciate him taking the time to come visit. This is the 7th year in the last 12 that we've hosted what is arguably the biggest single rodeo in the world. In the 6 previous years, it's estimated that the rodeos have brought approximately $65 million in economic impact into our community. That's astounding. I wouldn't be surprised if this year's event shatters that average and brings somewhere between $15 and $20 million into Sweetwater County. More importantly, hosting the rodeo over the last 12 years has put Sweetwater County on the map and led us to becoming the host of countless more national events, bringing millions more into the community. And the events complex staff does it all with a limited budget and a very limited staff. Hats off to everyone out there that makes it possible, and that includes the volunteers that put in more than 2,500 hours of volunteer time before the first chute opened at the rodeo on Sunday. Yesterday, I made my monthly appearance on KREO with John King, where we talked a lot about the rodeo as well as County Road 1 and fireworks. Later that day, I attended the Joint Powers Combined Communication Board meeting. I did not attend the library board meeting this month, but I will note that they did have to close the White Mountain Library last week for a few hours on Friday and all day Saturday because of the problems with their HVAC system led to intolerable heat levels in the building. Hopefully that grant we applied for comes through soon and we can get that taken care of. That brings me full circle back to see you all here today. I want to apologize for being tardy today. I had to put on my other hat as a private citizen running a business in our community, in which role I was the sponsor of this morning's performance at the rodeo. So I had to be there for a little bit. So thank you for indulging me and allowing me to break away for a little bit. Coming up, the rodeo will run through the week. Next week on the 23rd, I have an Air Quality Advisory Board meeting as well as a Fair Board meeting. On the 24th, I'm going to have some minor surgery on my sinuses that will knock me out of action for about a week, but hopefully sometime after I'll be able to breathe normally again. With any luck, I'll be fully recovered by Tuesday, July 30th, because that is the opening day of Wyoming's big show, the Sweetwater County Fair. That will take up pretty much every moment of my waking time, all the way up until I get to see all of you back here again on the 6th. I think that's all I have for you today, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to take so much of your time today, but I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Well worth the time, Commissioner. Great report. Comments or questions for Commissioner Richards? If not, Commissioner Jones, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 3rd, I attended the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County Board of Trustees monthly meeting. Most of what was discussed was from previous meetings that I've reported on here, such as the finance, quality, and the lab expansion update. On the 4th, I participated in the Liberty Day Parade put on by the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce. The parade was a great time. I was amazed by how many people lined the roads. It was really fun to see all the kids and the adults both smiling, laughing, carrying on, wearing patriotic clothing. But it was a great job by Rick Lee and the Chamber for putting the parade together. On the 8th, I attended the Star Transit Board meeting. Discussions surrounding the rebranding and new logo continue. On the 10th, I attended the monthly Wyoming County Commission Association video conference. Updates were given from Senator Barrasso and Representative Hageman. Senator Barrasso is working on legislation based on the Rock Springs BLM RMP. Currently, anyone in the world, and also computer bots, which I did not know that part of it, have the ability to comment on RMPs, just as an example. So Senator Barrasso is working to create legislation that can prevent this type of activity. There was a conversation about delisting the grizzly bear, and said that the delisting is actually a year overdue. On the morning of the 11th, I was here with you all finalizing the budget. I want to thank you all one more time for your hard work and dedication to Sweetwater County. It was a difficult process, but I think we have a good budget in the end. Very solid conservative budget that took care of our employees. Also on the 11th, I attended the Rock Springs Chamber Luncheon. As Commissioner Tillman mentioned, Craig Rude presented an update on Project Westrona expansion. I too learned something new every time I talk to them, so it's always great to listen to them and gain some more education. Also on the 11th, Senator Jones and myself volunteered at the events complex for the National High School Finals Rodeo. We help park campers in the upper 2 campgrounds, as we've done for the 7 years now that the rodeo has been here. We really enjoyed volunteering out there and having the opportunity to welcome so many visitors to our area. They're always amazed by our volunteers and the setup and how smoothly everything runs. A few blips in the road, but that's to be expected with that many people and animals coming to town essentially all at once. On the 12th, Senator Jones and myself again volunteered parking campers for the National High School Finals Rodeo. Friday night was an incredibly busy night with lots of tired people pulling into town. We had the fortune of meeting people from both far and near, some Wyoming folks, some traveling over 24 hours to get here. They have some amazing rigs that they are traveling in, which made it a little challenging to park campers from time to time when you have two 50-plus foot trailers pointed at each other. It gets a little cozy, but everybody helped each other and was great to see folks kind of coming together and I think to address some of the previous comments, what we saw out there at the rodeo with people helping each other and coming together is truly what this nation needs right now. So the rodeo folks certainly have it right. On the 13th, I had a booth at International Day. From everything I could tell, didn't get out of my booth, but everything I could tell was a big and successful event, was nonstop flow of people enjoying the day. Appreciate all the attendees and the conversations we had together. I was going to address the unfortunate shooting, but I don't think I can say it any more eloquently than Commissioner Richards did. So, and I couldn't agree more. So thank you. On the 14th, I too attended the governor's reception for the National High School Finals Rodeo. Great to talk to a variety of elected officials as well as industry representatives who all really support the events complex and everything they do out there in addition to the National High School Finals Rodeo. It was good to have a little time to speak with Governor Gordon on more of a one-on-one basis. I had many of the same stats that Commissioner Richard mentioned, so I'll just stop with that and stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any comments or questions for Commissioner Jones's
Mr.
report?
Chairman.
Commissioner Richards?
Commissioner Jones, you and Senator Jones seem to be spending a lot of time together. I think people are going to start talking.
Well, I hope somebody does.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate your work and your report. I guess that means I'm up next. Somewhat light couple of weeks for me as far as liaison duties. I did take some time over the 4th to spend time with family up in the backwoods and donated quite a bit of blood to the mosquitoes and horseflies that took full advantage. So came back pretty itchy from there, but had to get a little break away from all the chaos in the world. As you all know, we officially met on the 11th to kick off the budget for fiscal year 25, and it felt good to get that in the rearview mirror after a long process with that. Later that afternoon, I met with the University of Wyoming's Extension Office Director, Dr. Mandy Marney, to discuss the agreement and relationship that we have with the Extension Office down there at the university. As you know, we've got the MOU and some compensation agreements on our agenda today. It's been kind of some back and forth, at least I think since some of us took office, on the different roles and honestly lack of communication that we've had with UW Extension, even with some of the different changes in staffing that they've had. And I explained to Dr. Marney that I think a lot of what feels like some of the differences with that agreement are simply a lack of communication, and that the goal was to, reach out and I guess learn more about the programs they're providing. We've had a lot of questions about, the different educators and the idea that the university is willing to hire an additional one at their expense, whether that's through an A&R and a CVH, and dealing with the different acronyms and also trying to figure out what those positions could do for Sweetwater County, I think has left a lot of us a little bit confused. It certainly has for myself. It's not an area that I'm an expert in, perhaps like Commissioner Toman, who I think certainly has a lot more involvement in that area. But, it seems as though every time they come over to present, it's contractually based, whether that's on terms in an MOU or simple compensation matters. And it would be nice to get a more in-depth explanation as to the services they provide and all the good things they do for Sweetwater, because I think it's a very important service. I think collectively we all support it and will continue to, but I think some of the hang up is getting caught up in politics, and effective leadership is to try and get to the bottom of that and move forward. And so that is the goal. And Dr. Marney seemed to agree with that and is willing to sit down with us. I told her, obviously to prevent a quorum, that might have to be in pairs, but, to get a better background on the different things they're providing and the different needs they may have and some of the needs that we're looking to fill so that we can all feel comfortable moving forward with that MOU. there were some suggested red lines, some of the concerns that we've shared over the last year and a half or so that we've been going through that agreement. Agreeable on their end to some, not so much on others. So I don't know if they're going to be here today to present or not, but I indicated that it was likely we will, postpone the approval of that MOU, but I couldn't speak on behalf of you all. So we'll see if and who shows this afternoon. Otherwise, I told her to plan on having some further, workshop or education to get us more in the loop so that we can be educated before approving an important agreement like that. The other side of that is the compensation agreements and whether or not we approve those, which are obviously reflective of the MOU. So we can have further discussion this afternoon when those come about, but I at least wanted to let you know that I appreciated Dr. Marnie reaching out and wanting to get to the bottom of some of that so that, we can collaborate and move forward together and get some of these different items cleared up. So I think that was a positive step and we'll continue to march forward with that one. As you all, I also attended the kickoff event for the National High School Finals Rodeo last Sunday evening, gave a brief speech on behalf of Sweetwater County, while also getting the opportunity to welcome Governor Gordon. It seems hard to believe that this is the 7th year Sweetwater has been fortunate enough to host that event. We'll get it for an 8th year next year. And as Commissioner Richards pointed out, the rodeo has been a fantastic economic benefit for Sweetwater County and could continue to be, but with success comes additional needs and advanced improvements, and whether or not we can keep up with those, I guess, is yet to be determined. But for the now, we're going to enjoy it while it's here and be thankful that we have that opportunity. It's a great event, brings a lot of diverse, individuals into the county, which I think is something we can all be proud of after all the horrific events that took place last Saturday. We went out there to watch the first events and had people from all over the nation, and it seemed that everyone was proud to fly that USA flag high. So I was honored and appreciative to be there. I did enjoy taking the picture, and there was 4 very dedicated commissioners that went out in between the arena there to be recognized and accept our award. We lost the biggest background rodeo commissioner of all with
You
Commissioner
left me
Tolman.
behind.
We're not sure exactly what happened there, so we apologize for that, Commissioner, but thank God for Photoshop. We'll get you in there.
Okay.
And later that evening, I just honestly spent a lot of time watching the news and going over the unfortunate events that have taken place. And I agree with Commissioner Jones. I don't think I can top Commissioner Richards' comments on the subject matter and the assassination attempt. I just think it's horrible times for our nation and our republic. And as he pointed out, to think that hasn't come into Wyoming or Sweetwater County is probably not the case. And it's very unfortunate. And, you got a lot of good people that have families and want to serve and do good things for the community. And there is that fear, and it's unsettling to say the least. And I just feel like whether you're, red, blue, or independent, it shouldn't matter. We can agree to disagree and do what's best for the county, the state, or the nation. And, bound together when the times are difficult and move this country forward. And, I hope that doesn't continue to march into the great state of Wyoming and certainly Sweetwater County, because it is a very difficult job. And you certainly put a lot of things on the line, and to think that your life is one of them is unacceptable. And just very disheartening to see that and to see the state of our country. And I hope there can be some change and we all come together and unite and be resilient like we're known to be. So it's just very troubling, and I hope our world is better than that, and certainly our nation. Yesterday, I did attend the Sweetwater County Water Users Coalition meeting. Not a whole lot to report with that. I'm still honestly trying to get brought up to speed. I'm the chairman of that board, which was just by default. And so I try and pretend like I know what I'm doing, kind of like most days up here, but it's one of those that's a lot of abbreviations, and I'm still learning. I have a lot to learn, but there's some good people on that board, and a lot of the discussion was relative to the UCRC, which, by the way, is the Upper Colorado River Commission, and some of the different meetings that individuals have been attending, whether that's Aaron Reichel or Brian Seppi, and kind of keeping us in the loop as to those discussions and changes that may be coming about. There's funding agreements in place that probably Commissioner Toman knows more about as well, but it's relative to the opportunity for water users in the upper division states to be compensated for temporary and voluntary reductions in the water use to help mitigate the different impacts of the long-term drought and depleted storage in the Colorado River system. And so there's a lot that goes along with that. And like I said, it continues to be a learning curve, but we're trying to keep our eye on it and become more educated and I guess where we can. We did go over the different numbers from Fontanelle and Flaming Gorge. The gorge is down almost 2 feet from a year ago, and collectively 2024 is down quite a bit compared to 2023. So just thought I would bring that news to your attention. Very interesting board, very important one. I think the future of water is probably a very, I don't know, I don't think the importance is shined highly enough on it, and it can have a significant impact to a lot of the operations around this county and the state. So I'll continue to learn more there for you. I did want to offer a quick reminder that our employee appreciation barbecue is going to be the date of our next meeting, which is August 6th. I originally had told you the 20th. Clerk Lane freaked out because that's an election day. Just kidding, Cindy. So we did bump that up, and we'll have that on the 6th so that we don't interrupt any busyness on the 20th. So once again, that'll be here at the county courthouse at noon, and Treasurer Cowan has set that up in collaboration with Commerce Bank and Western Wyoming Beverages. So we'll look forward to that. I did want to make just a brief comment. Setting the agenda has been a little bit challenging over the course of the last couple weeks and months. Just as a reminder for some of the different department heads and staff that once those agenda items come in and they're submitted to Granicus and Sally, and they have the packet information in there, they become locked. And so those are all sent to the commissioners. And if changes take place, it really can't, because once those are locked in, then we have different notes, we have different software that allows us to go in there and view whatever that information may be. Those are what we're advertising for different agreements and what have you. And so, it's okay here and there if changes come in after the fact, but primarily speaking, once it's submitted, it's a done deal, and we can't make alterations to that. So I think we need to be careful of that and know that, mistakes do happen, but it seems a little bit common lately that more information comes about after the fact, and that makes it very difficult on our part to try and implement those while also advertising properly and being transparent about it. So I would ask for a little more attention to that if we could. It just helps make the process a little more seamless. And lastly, commissioners, I feel a little bit guilty. 9 o'clock hit quick this morning, and I wasn't sure where some of the things may head with the meeting, and so I kind of skipped over a very important piece, and I'm glad Commissioner Richards reminded me, and also that he's here for it. But we had a former commissioner in Carl Maldonado who served from 1995 to 2002 here at the Sweetwater County Commission, who has recently passed away. And I would like to give notice to Commissioner Maldonado and also take a moment of silence, while also giving silence to the life that was lost and those that were injured during the assassination event that our nation unfortunately witnessed last Saturday. So if I could, a little bit out of timing, but I would like to stand and give it a moment of silence for those individuals. Thank you for that. And that does conclude my report. I would stand for any questions you all may have. If not, Commissioner Slaughter, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank you for that. Today is my opportunity to be commissioner redundant. So I will repeat many of the things that have been said by my other commissioners. On the 4th, I also participated in the Rock Springs Chamber 4th of July Parade. It was a great day for a parade and was extremely well attended. Lots of well-mannered children on the route, and Mariella and I rewarded them with over 1,200 pieces of candy. Seemed like everyone had a great time. Special thanks to Whistler Chevrolet for providing a beautiful new truck for the commissioners to ride in, and also a special thanks to Rick Lee and his staff for inviting us to participate. On the 8th, I conducted the monthly specific purpose tax joint powers board meeting. The monthly tax is still coming in at or above our anticipated levels. We are, however, experiencing problems with the trustee bank's conversion of its online reporting platform. If it is not resolved by Thursday, I will once again contact their customer support to work forward. Robert Hood, lead engineer on the Jamestown project, will be on our August agenda to give us an update from the engineering perspective on the Jamestown project. It will be good to hear firsthand from him. We've been waiting for this with bated breath. On the 9th, I spent the morning with the Bank of Oklahoma support team, trying to resolve those issues with the lack of access to information on their new online portfolio platform. Finally, a work order ticket was issued and it will be reviewed prior to Thursday. It has been extremely frustrating trying to work through this change on both ends, I'm sure. On the 10th, I met with the McKinnon Working Group on County Road 1. Commissioner Richards and I updated the group with the information the commissioners had approved, roughly $1.3 million to fix the 10 frost heaves on that road. That work will actually begin on July 25th, and that road will be closed from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. each day until that project is done. It's anticipated to take about 3 weeks. We then reiterated that phase 2 will be doing a scrub seal on the second 6.6 mile section of the road identified in our analysis. We then had a discussion on next steps and agreed to look for additional funding options and to maintain open communication. On Friday, we received notice that our application for Wyoming Federal Lands Access Program grant funding at FLAP grant had been denied in this call for projects. We are not precluded from applying in future calls, so we will continue watching if there is additional funding that's made available through that. Through our discussions, we were able to receive a $100,000 donation from Williams, as was alluded to by Commissioner Richards. That also came with the promise that there would be another $100,000 that would be earmarked for work on that northern end of the road, which is being, I would say, devastated at this point in time by the trucks which are moving in and out of the Williams compressor facility that's on the north end of that road. On the 11th, I attended the aforementioned regular meeting to formally adopt the fiscal 25 budget. And as has been previously stated, it is nice to have that behind us. Later that day, I attended the Rock Springs Chamber Luncheon. Craig Root of Jenner gave an update on the progress of Project West. It was once again very informational. The luncheon was held at Santa Fe Trail and was very good and well attended. And as Commissioner Jones stated, each time we hear these things, there are new things which come out and we learn additional information. So it's always good to be there on those. On the 14th, I attended the governor's reception at the events complex for the National High School Finals Rodeo. I took the opportunity to bend the governor's ear once more on the value of Sweetwater County and its importance to the state of Wyoming. I again reemphasize that we are ready and willing to roll up our sleeves and work with the governor's office to benefit Sweetwater County and the state in any way which we can. Yesterday, I spent the day in my office working on several issues, speaking with several staff members, and preparing for today's commission meeting. Tomorrow, I will make the trip to Lyman for the CLG meeting, and we will continue from there, Mr. Chairman. With that, I would stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. And nice work on getting the $100,000 check from Williams with 100,000 more to come. We certainly appreciate them and for you and Commissioners Richards' work on that. It's great news. I'm also glad to hear that Jamestown's rep is going to come before us in August so we can finally figure out what's going on with that project, as I'm sure you are as well. Any other questions or comments for Commissioner Slaughter's report? If not, that does conclude the reports. Nice work, commissioners. We stayed pretty much on time as well. Not too bad. That is going to move us right along into tab C, the action and presentation items portion of the agenda. First up is the approval of the grant agreement from the Sweetwater County Joint Travel and Tourism Board. And I believe we've got Clerk Lane and our county grants manager, Christina Marshall, with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. So Chairman West and commissioners, I'm here with Clerk Lane. Sweetwater County was awarded $8,000 from the Sweetwater County Joint Travel and Tourism Board. The grant requires no match and must be expended by September 26, 2024, this year. So the purpose of travel and tourism grants is to support projects that meet its mission. I'm quoting, to enhance the economy of Sweetwater County and its municipalities by encouraging the promotion of activities and other recreational opportunities, which will attract and retain visitors to Sweetwater County and its municipalities. So the Sweetwater County Clerk's Office will use the funding to support hosting the 2024 Wyoming Association of County Officers, or WACO, conference this September. The conference is the association's main event and brings together all the state's county officials, the respective associations, and statewide elected officials. The requirement to bid to host the conference required blocking 280 hotel rooms, although many participants, such as vendors and families, find lodging on their own. While the WACO board will implement the actual event, Sweetwater County is responsible for two activities that the grant will be used for. So those two activities are the registration table and the welcome reception. Total budget for those two under the grant is $8,000. So a couple notes. There will be another opportunity to apply for this funding for the 2025 WACO conference, which will also be in Sweetwater County. A budget amendment is not required because this project was included in the county's fiscal year 2025 grant projects budget. The agreement required the county clerk to sign since the project was submitted by and is being overseen by her office. So there is no documentation for you all to sign. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, or you can, you have Clerk Lane here who's overseeing the project.
Thanks, Christina. We appreciate that. Any questions on this MOU, or excuse me, this grant agreement, commissioners? Special thanks to Travel and Tourism for helping us out. With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve and accept the grant agreement from the Sweetwater County Joint Travel and Tourism Board for the 2024 WACO Conference as presented.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
I
Tillman.
would make that motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Toman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Okay,
Thanks, Christina.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Item number 2 under the action and presentation items this morning is amendment number 3 to the MOU between Wyandotte and Sweetwater County for the SkyWest Airlines service. With us is the Airport Director of the Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport, Devin Brubaker, and good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Pull up a short presentation here. All right, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, before you today is amendment number 3 to an MOU between the Sweetwater County Commission and Wyoming Department of Transportation, specifically the Aeronautics Division, regarding the capacity purchase agreement that Wyoming Department of Transportation has with SkyWest Airlines to provide air service in Sweetwater County, Campbell County, Fremont County, and Sheridan County. It is a multi-year agreement that was started back, I think 2018. The Commercial Service Improvement Council developed a new delivery method for air service in Wyoming, replacing the air service enhancement program for our community specifically, as well as those other three that I mentioned. As part of the agreement, there's basically a 10-year agreement. It has three different windows, if you will. It's got a 3-year, 2 3-year terms, and then a 4-year term at the end of it. We are in now in fiscal year 25, in the last year of the second 3-year term on that agreement. The contract does allow either party to reopen the contract for negotiations each year, and therefore SkyWest elected to reopen the contract and request additional compensation for providing service in all 4 communities across the state. So I want to talk a little bit about the air service. I talked to a couple of the commissioners over the last week or so, and there were some questions about the economics of air service. So I wanted to come with a little bit of information to share with you. My goal today is to stay fairly high level, just because I could spend hours here talking about the economics of airline service in rural America. So my goal is to stay high level. Happy to dive deeper if you want. I only requested, I think, 10 minutes on the agenda, so I'm going to go very, very quickly, but happy to answer questions for you. So the first up, you're going to see a map that I've shown you before. This map, and it's hard to see, maybe it's easier to see on the screen behind me, but there's a lot of dots up there on the screen. All of the black dots are communities that lost their service since 2020. The red dots are communities that have lost more than 25% of their air service since 2020, and the yellow dots are communities that have lost 1 to 25% of their air service, and that's based on the capacity, the number of seats available in the market. You'll notice that Sweetwater County is one of those red dots where we had lost more than 25% of our service. I'm pleased to be able to tell you that we are back to having full capacity. So this chart is now dated because Sweetwater County and Fremont County have been restored to the full twice daily flights as of June 1st that we had lost at the beginning of the pandemic. The next chart is a little bit of a history of what our passenger numbers look like over the last 6 years or so, or even longer, I guess 8 years. So going back to 2016 through 2019, we had experienced a 53.8% growth in passenger utilization of the airport. And then obviously the pandemic hit starting for the aviation industry on March 16th, Monday, March 16th, 2020. And that's when we saw in April, May timeframe of 2020, we lost 97% of all traffic at the airport. Fortunately, we were able to rebound a little bit in 2020. 2021, we saw the restoration of a second flight on 5 of the 7 days a week. But that was short-lived because on February 1st, 2022, SkyWest, due to pilot shortage issues, pulled down the second flight. So you'll notice that we stayed pretty flat. We rebounded in 2021 to just under 33,000 total passengers. 2022, we were just under 30,000. 2023, we were at 32,000 on the dot. I could never do that if I tried. We hit exactly 32,000 passengers in 2023. And based on what we've done through June 30th and what the forecasted advanced bookings look like through the end of this year, we should finish this year at 39,886. Obviously, give or take several hundred there. We're forecasting 6 months worth of activity. But with the return of the second flight, we're anticipating to get really close to that 40,000 passenger level, and we expect 2025 to get back into that 2018, 2019 range for passenger levels. So a little bit about why the costs are increasing. So the industry is driven by a metric called CASM, or cost per available seat mile. The smaller the plane, the higher the CASM. And basically, if you have fewer seats to spread your costs around, then your cost per available seat mile is higher. This has been exacerbated. I've spoken with you all in months past about the pilot wages. Pilot wages have, in some cases, more than quadrupled because of the significant pilot shortage that exists in the industry. And so when you still have 2 pilots on a 50-seat airplane, or 2 pilots on a 200-seat airplane, or 3 pilots on a larger aircraft, you still, or you have fewer seats on those smaller aircraft to spread those costs around. So for example, our CRJ 200, which we have operating at the airport today, is a 50-seat aircraft. Excluding fuel costs, it's around 40 cents per available seat mile, and which is about 4 times the cost of a 76-seat Embraer 175 that can be between 9 and 12 cents per available seat mile. However, the 76-seat aircraft can carry 65% more revenue than a 50-seat plane, and it's still, once again, only uses those same 2 pilots, and other operating costs like landing fees, fuel, and others are increased by less than 60%. So the larger airplane you go, the cheaper per seat, per available seat mile you get. So question is, why don't we just go to a bigger airplane? That would be what we would love to do. Unfortunately, the labor unions have negotiated scope clauses in their contracts with the airlines that limit what aircraft the airlines can operate. So the mainline carriers like United, United exactly is limited to 255 aircraft that have 70 to 76 seats in their entire fleet. So they can't go above 255 because of their union contract. This number can be increased if they were to purchase a small narrow body aircraft like the Airbus 220. Unfortunately, United has no plans to procure an aircraft in that size range. They're focused on much larger aircraft. So therefore, the path to larger aircraft for us is them taking delivery, United taking delivery of their larger aircraft, the Boeing 737s, the A320s, the aircraft that hold 150, 200, 250 passengers. They need to take delivery of those aircraft so that the cities that are being served by the Embraer 175 get upgauged to that larger aircraft, and then that Embraer 175 type aircraft can be reallocated to communities like ours. So United Airlines has 747 aircraft on order for scheduled for delivery through 2033. Unfortunately, if you paid attention to the news, Boeing has had some challenges. They are not delivering aircraft at the rate that they said they would this year. United had expected 191 aircraft deliveries this year alone, but due to the issues with Boeing and smaller issues at Airbus, they're now just expecting 61 aircraft. So that means the transition to a larger aircraft for markets like ours is delayed because of macroeconomic challenges that we have absolutely no control over. So talking locally here a little bit, when we look at the CASM, the cost per available seat mile excluding fuel, over the last several years, we've increased from 21 cents to 40 cents, and that is largely a result of the pilot wages. That results in an average cost per seat on the RKS Denver or Denver RKS flight being $108 excluding fuel. When fuel is added, assuming $1,000 per block hour, the cost increases to $131.39 per seat each way. The 2023 average fare each way for RKS was $107.86. At that fare, we would need to operate 121.9% load factor to break even. Not very possible. To break even with 100% load factor, meaning every single seat year round is sold out, which doesn't happen in this industry, period. It's just, it's not happened in any market anywhere. The average fare would need to be $131.39. And to break even with an industry average load factor of $83.71 or 83.71%, we would need to have an average fare of $156.96. Now, all of those are assuming $1,000 per block hour on fuel. Right now, last month, block hour costs on fuel were around $855. They go as high as $1,600, depending what oil prices do in the market. So there's a lot of variables that are at play there. So what it boils down to and what's challenging to understand is, well, why don't we just increase fares? Well, much like any other type of business, if you increase fares too high, then you're going to have less people utilize it. So it's trying to maximize the revenue for every seat that's available. And so United Airlines and SkyWest Airlines have entire revenue management teams that their entire job is to maximize the revenue for every single seat that is sold on United.com or Expedia or Travelocity. So the best that they got last year was 107.86. That's the average for the entire year. The reality is the costs have gone up for air travel. Airfares have not increased with it. They have gone up slightly, but the actual average cost of airfare nationwide has largely remained very similar to what it was pre-pandemic. So what does that mean for the county? The total CPA agreement for 2025 for Sweetwater County is $4,408,819, of which 60% YDOT covers. That adds up to 2.65 million. The county would be at 7.93 million. The city of Rock Springs 500, not million. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to give you a heart attack. Hopefully you're reading the screen. Thanks, Keaton. Chairman, I mean. 793,000, not 7.9 million. 793,000 for the county, 581,000 for city of Rock Springs, and 387 for the city of Green River. Those are the actual percentages of the total amount. If you remember, the local portion, which is 40%, is split 45% between by the county, 33% city of Rock Springs, and 22% city of Green River. And so ultimately, why do we do it? We know these are big numbers. I have showed this slide before, but the airport generates nearly $37 million of economic activity each year. That's both commercial and general aviation. And there's a whole bunch of statistics on that screen that talk about that. But the number that really matters is in 2020, YDOT did a study on what the return on investment for every dollar invested in air service in each market across Wyoming is. And for Sweetwater County, for every dollar that's invested in air service resulted in a $13.15 return on that investment right here in Sweetwater County. So we know the numbers are big, but the reality is the dollars that are invested do come back. The economic impact, the economic support for local industry, local businesses is obviously important. I think you all recognize that. Your support over the years signifies that you recognize the value of the airport. But I think it's important for you guys to understand and hear what the actual numbers are. And that $13.15 is right out of a YDOT number. And I will tell you, that does not include, if you're familiar with economic impact studies, there's the direct impact and then there's indirect impact, which is, I call it fuzzy math, a bunch of multipliers. This number doesn't have any multipliers on it. It is the direct impact only. The indirect multipliers that happen in economic impact studies are not included in this number. So that was done on purpose so that we didn't have to sit there and try to defend math that we didn't understand. So with that, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, happy to answer any questions. I know this is a very complicated subject. I live and breathe it every day. I'm happy to answer questions today, or as always, one-on-one, two-on-one, either at the airport or in town, wherever I can meet you. Happy to dive deeper.
Thanks, Devin. Appreciate the background and information on that. Any questions or comments, Commissioners? Is it common, Devin, help me understand, for like YDOT to reopen the agreement more frequently, or is it, kind of in response to just the ongoing struggles with the airline industry? When was the last time an amendment was made? I guess it probably says it in there and I just didn't catch it, but can you elaborate to that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, excellent question. So the numbers have been revisited frequently, and in the airline industry, airlines will not sign a contract that doesn't give them annual flexibility. The first 3-year period did not have that language in the contract, but when the pandemic hit and all of the variables started going crazy in the industry, whether it be labor costs, fuel costs, you name it, the airline would not re-up for the second 3-year term without the ability to renegotiate each year. It was renegotiated each of the last 3 years, but it did not have, because of the less frequency of flight or the lower frequency of flights, it did not have a result in an increased cap. So you did not see an amendment to that effect because it had no impact on your bottom line financially. But now, because of the return of the second flight and combination of all the costs, it does have an increase. And if I remember correctly, it's about a $40,000 increase over for the county over what the current MOU calls for as the max cap. Now, as Chairman's aware, we have, because we spent a lot of time talking over the last month. Every year that I've been here, 9 years, we have delivered better than anticipated performance on that cap. Sometimes significantly better due to less frequency. But even when we had 2 daily flights, we did beat the number every single time. And that is our intention, to beat the number every time. Our marketing efforts at the airport, our control of fuel costs at the airport, our ability to communicate and work with the airline. We meet with them every other Friday to coordinate schedules and frequencies and airfares and all of those things to make sure that we're getting the best revenue possible on the flights, and making sure that we get the best schedule possible to make sure that's possible.
Yeah, and on that, just so you all know, we had some discussions in regards to the budget amount we have set aside for, this MOU agreement, and I believe we budgeted 250,000. That was based off of previous year expenditures, and obviously with the amendment here, it could take that from, it was around 750 to 793,000, I think, as a max cap for Sweetwater County. So we're keeping our eye on that. If we need to do a budget amendment, we decided that we would discuss that at that time. So we all have it marked in our calendar in October, just to kind of see where things progress with this added second flight. So I think I went over that in the last meeting, but just a quick reminder for that. With that, is there any other comments or questions on the presentation or the MOU amendment? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve Amendment 3 to the MOU between WYDOT and the Sweetwater County Commissioners, and authorize the chairman to sign.
So moved.
We got a tie there. I got a motion by Commissioner Jones, I believe. Did we have a second by Commissioner Richards? Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Devin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and just want to remind everybody that if there's anything I can ever do, any questions I can ever answer, whether it's this, construction, litigation, airport operations, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to meet with you individually or 2-on-1. I know you have to manage your quorum concerns, but happy to meet with you to go over any issues related to the airport. Open book, happy to answer any and all questions. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Devin. With that, the next item on the agenda is a break. We will resume for an update from WYDOT. That is slated for 10:55, so we're going to be a little bit behind here. But I trust Pete will get us caught back up. So let's take about a 10-minute break, and we're going to resume here at 11:05. Everyone good? Waiting on John.
He's putting his lipstick on, probably.
I told him 11:05, so
What?
that's fair.
I said he's putting his lipstick on.
Yeah.
Good, okay. Call this meeting back to order. Where we left off under tab C was item number 4. We've got the YDOT State Transportation Improvement Program, the STIP program update on the current and future highway projects in Sweetwater County. With us this morning is YDOT District Construction Engineer Peter Stinchcomb. Good morning, Pete. Thanks for coming over.
Commissioners, Mr. Chair, thank you for having me. I am Pete Stinchcomb. I'm the YDOT's District 3 construction engineer. Our office is over in Rock Springs. With me, I have Brad McCullough, one of our resident engineers. Our other resident engineer is out on a project. His name is Clint Lockman. Just so you know who the 2 residents are here in town. We also have Darren Kaufman, our traffic engineer, our district traffic engineer. He's also in Rock Springs. And then we got Brent Lyman, our transportation commissioner, one of our transportation commissioners here today as well. So thanks for having us. This is my annual update for the statewide transportation improvement program, or we often refer to it as the STIP. And this one's focused on Sweetwater County. But first we go through kind of a overview of how the STIP works and what it's about. And then we'll get into the projects on the back half of what's happening here in Sweetwater County over the next few years. So the STIP is a federal requirement per CFR 450-218. In a nutshell, it requires YDOT develops the STIP for all areas of the state for a minimum of 4 years. YDOT covers 6 years of projected projects and updates every year. The cooperation of the metropolitan planning organizations, MPOs, and non-metropolitan areas, consultation with tribal governments, opportunities for the public to comment on the proposed STIP, inclusion of the capital and non-capital surface transportation projects and phases of the project, inclusion of a financial plan, discussion of anticipated effect of the STIP towards achieving performance targets, and it allows flexibility to update the STIP through addendums. the process of the STIP, is first we take some STIP inputs. So I get every year in March and April, a bunch of data from all of our data collectors throughout the state. We have a pavement management system, a safety management system. These systems are continually updated. A bridge management system. And then they also update my budget every year, based on what we get from the federal government. So I take all these into account to start putting together the STIP each year. And that helps me select candidate projects, which I do in April and May. And I will say we do that throughout the year. I mean, as we all drive around the district, we see areas that are maybe deteriorating faster than what we think or whatnot. Or we find a problem area or maybe a blowout happens. So we select our candidate projects in April and May for all different types of projects. And then I put a version together that is hopefully the one that I'm more or less presenting to you today. There's minor changes from that point, but we also, it says here that we take public input. Public input from the Transportation Commission, the Aeronautics Commission, the TAP program, from various citizens that call and make their input, transportation agencies, basically everybody, we take in input. And I want to mention, it says June to August up there for public input. We really take public input all year round. It doesn't matter when it comes in, I take notes on what someone says, this area on their particular road is getting bad. So we are taking input at all times. It's not just the June to August. The June to August up there is more for the presentation, the website's live. We take in that input online as well as just someone calling me. So, and then after we go through this process, it goes to the Transportation Commission in September, where they approve it. Goes to Federal Highways. They concur with that approval. And then, the Federal Transit Authority for the transit stuff is also approved at that time. And then it's finally published in October. And that's the beginning of that fiscal year's STIP. Inputs and minor changes happen from that point on until the next October or next April, where I start to revamp it again. So what is in the STIP document? It's basically a single source document for the department's projects. Highway projects like mine get a 6-year plan. So I build it out for 6 years. We estimate the money on the back end. And I often tell people the first couple of years, so fiscal year 25 and 26 are probably a little more concrete since we're right up on them. You get out into fiscal year 2030, 2029, those may be a little more flexible where projects might move in and out of there. But I do my best to get something that's stable every year. Transit projects only does a 1-year plan. Aeronautics does a 5-year plan. The Public Safety Communications Commissions does a 1-year plan, and capital improvement projects are a 1-year plan. Why does the STIP matter? Our goal is to provide a safe and effective transportation system for the public. So it's to serve our customers. It's to ensure transparency and public engagement. So we can value our team, develop and maintain strategic partnerships such as this one, and then appropriately manage resources and continually improve and innovate. To serve our customers, the STIP serves our customers by ensuring priority projects for each fiscal year are being completed for safety and preservation of the road. Increasing system reliability by standardized designs, increasing customer satisfaction by an on-time, on-budget delivery of the STIP, and ensuring projects are done quickly and effectively. Consistent updating and modifications of the STIP to update the customer of new changes to projects and budgets, and then decreasing construction time by ensuring complete and accurate design plans. We ensure transparency and public engagement in the STIP by gathering public comment and information to develop the STIP, engaging with local, state, and federal partners to develop the STIP as well, consistently updating the STIP and posting monthly changes on the internet, ensuring the map is available for public to view and submit public comments, and engage the public in a variety of ways, including public meetings, presentations, and the website to ensure anyone can give their comment. And I will give the website here at the end. It has the website on the presentation. That's where we gather a lot of public comments from just people that go online and check it all out on their own time. So when you do go online, this is the map you'll see. There's a lot of dots on there. The red ones are for this year, what's currently going on. That's actually 2022. So it's a little bit older, but this year's will be like that red one. And then the future projects are on. And it kind of shows you that we do our best job to cover the entire state with all of our different projects. When you do go on the website, you'll come up on this map when you click on Sweetwater County, and it lists all the different projects going on in Sweetwater County. So I believe the red ones that are shown on the map are the current year, and then the blue are what's to come. And when you go on that map, I think you can hover over each of those projects and see what they're about. We'll go over a lot of them here in a few. You can also go on there and see kind of a mini report of the money spent on different projects. My focus is the transportation projects on the one side. Overall, over the next 6 years plus a future stockpile that I have already going, we've got close to 300 million going on in this county over the next 6-7 years. Sometimes when you look at that as well, I see there's a year where there's not a lot in there. If you see there's not a lot in there, sometimes that's just because I have a project that might span over a couple of years, or maybe I have 2 projects that span, on the interstate over a couple of years. So that fluctuates. So our team develops the STIP by using expertise from many design and field programs. We gather our scope that way. Our page, I mentioned them earlier, the pavement management system, safety management system, and bridge management system helps ensure I'm working on the correct bridges, the correct roads, and making the proper safety improvements when we're there doing those projects. Listening to the experts helps to determine the best practices in design and ensures programs involved in the design and lettings are invited to the highway development meetings to collaborate and make decisions on STIP projects. We develop and maintain strategic partnerships. We have many partners in the STIP, like the Transportation Commission, the TAP program, the Transportation Alternative Program, various citizens and public agencies. We also maintain these partnerships through trainings with local governments, co-op engineer meetings, monthly meetings with commissions, project meetings with stakeholders, and then public meeting required for public involvement. I also know that we work pretty closely with like your county engineer and various city engineers. We talk on a regular basis. The STIP is a compilation of many funding sources. So to ensure the right funding source is used for the right project, the STIP also we rebalance the process every year. So that's why I go and do this every single year. And using our STIP to balance workloads for our teams. So I told you we have a lot of projects coming up. We have a couple bigger crews here in the Sweetwater County area. So I can put a few more projects on them at times, but I also got to make sure that my offices up in Kimmer or in Pinedale are also getting work every year with the money I'm given. And then showing the citizens where we're putting our money and how we're going to use it over the next 6 years. STIP allows YDOT to get creative in solving complex problems, innovate design solutions to ensure safety on the roadways, improving improving the pavement and bridge conditions, implementing new standards such as like MASH for the guardrail designs, and revising and revamping the STIP rebalance process each year to be more collaborative and efficient. And those pictures up there, that the big arch picture is actually a picture of one of the arch crossings up in Sublette County, just north of LaBarge, for one of our last wildlife project, which was kind of cool. And the deer are using that like crazy, which is nice. So we have a shelf. What is the shelf? Basically they're projects that are done and ready to go. They're designed, they're ready to be let. And if we have additional funding that year, I can take those jobs and get them out to the letting right away. YDOT tries to get basically a whole year's budget, 330 million on the shelf at all times. So we're constantly trying to take those projects that are in 27 and 28 and get them ready to go. So if additional funding does come available, we can get them out and on the ground basically. So get them going. Future transportation jobs. These are the jobs that I'm required to designate in the STIP. Each district, so District 3 here has to designate $20 million to be $20 million worth of projects in 29 and 30, fiscal year 29 and 30, the two last years, that are projects that can be designed quickly. So those are, you know, the broad projects that we're just going to go out and peel the asphalt, the top layer of asphalt off and put new asphalt on. If you go in and look at the STIP and on the column after all the columns, there's sometimes you'll see an FJT or a $5 million job or a stabilization jobs. Those were what those were designated as in that year. And that's what those projects are, is just in case, or say a project falls out or we need to delay a project a year, I can move those projects in fairly quickly. Other kinds of projects, larger projects that YDOT is actively pursuing additional funds for, when funds are not immediately available. Some of this list includes projects on our delayed list. Also, we have DR projects and ER or ND projects. DR is something it's a project that's usually set up by, say, I don't know, semi crashing into one of our bridges, or, you know, we've had a few crashes where they just burn up there on the road and the asphalt's not any good anymore. So those are the district repair jobs. And I got to experience my first ND job this year with the landslides up in Jackson Hole. So that's what an ND job is. So a natural disaster. YDOT as a whole, our big picture is we're trying to recognize, retain, and recruit. I'm sure the county's seeing it as well. It's hard to keep employees and it's hard to get new employees in certain fields. Engineers is very tough right now. So we also try to secure additional funding. Wyoming is one of the few states that spends all their money, and we sometimes get the kickback from other states that don't spend all their money. It's a weird little program, but I do know that fact. We're one of the few that spends ours plus some usually. And then we try to develop the brand. The STIP helps to ensure our citizens, visitors, employees, and partners can explore Wyoming and get home safe. So now this is the portion where we're going to get into all the projects. So if anybody has no questions at this time, I'll get into all the projects.
Any questions up to this point, commissioners?
Oh, I just,
Commissioner Tillman?
well, Teton Pass, where'd you get the money for that? It must have cost a fortune.
So, yeah, we had to do I had to push a lot of papers. It's ND or Emergency Relief Fund, that the feds have. They have like a bank for
Okay,
natural
that's what I was
disasters.
wondering,
Yeah.
So it didn't take all of Wyoming's money.
No, it's actually, most of it's gonna be 100% federally funded.
Thank you.
There's a few things that, little stipulations where we gotta pay for like 10-20% of stuff, but yeah, that all came from the federal government.
Thanks.
Any margin?
All righty. So annual projects in the Sweetwater County. We have safety improvement projects out there, dust suppression, installing delineators and centerline markings. They're kind of the maintenance projects that we do annually. Sometimes we might consider that like chip seals. Sometimes we do contract patches in the area where, there's a bad stretch of road. We go out there. The interstate's seen a lot of that over the last few years, especially on the way to Rollins. And then, paint and delineators as well. So for fiscal year 24, what's currently going on or getting ready to start, we have I-80 3153 and 3156. It's I-80 westbound and eastbound at mile marker 130 to 138. So this is kind of near Pointer Rocks. Reason it has two job numbers there is because at one time I had it split into two jobs, east and west. Now I pushed them together and pushed it out all at once. Then we got Farson North. That one's currently going on. It's on 191, right up by the county line at mile marker 45 to 52. That's a mill and overlay.
Plan on a 20-minute wait.
What's that?
Plan on a 20-minute wait.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully we'll be done soon and then you can just get through there like normal. I-80 3162. This is just a road closure gate. This was asked by our patrol to put in a road closure gate there at Pointer Rocks. Because when the road does close, semis tend to sneak around on the service road and get out to Pointer Rocks and get on the interstate anyway. So, and then we have more problems. So now we're gonna go put another gate out there on the eastbound ramp. And then this rockfall monitoring project you see there, that's for the cliffs right out here outside of town. We had some rocks fall earlier this year. It was a pretty good landslide. Luckily that has a big old buffer zone to where it doesn't come onto the interstate, but we figured we'd set up a job so our surveyors can go up there and our geologists can look at it and keep an eye on what is coming in case we do need to do something. So. Also in 24, we have various bridge rehab projects. The Jamestown Bridge just outside of town here is already shut down. We're going to replace that whole deck. And then on 430 and the Belt Loop in Rock Springs, we have that bridge that crosses 430. It's got some minor repairs that we need to get done. And then a few years later after that, we'll probably come back and do more work on the bridge. But this is kind of emergency work that we're doing there. There's various community projects. Rock Springs Foothill Boulevard, they've got pathway enhancements. And then Green River has the Riverside Memorial Park pathway and lighting project as well. That's money that's passed through us to those particular cities. In 2025, another interstate project, pavement and bridge rehab. This one's just past that Pointer Rock section, starting at 143 and going to mile marker 154. This has a lot of bridges on it on both sides, so 5 each side. So that one might be just a little bit slower just because all the bridge work we got to do. Then I-80 Green River West, mile marker 82 to 87, grinding. We're going to come through and I drive it every day here between town. The concrete here in town, it sometimes gets a little bumpy. So we have a project put together that's going to go out and replace some concrete slabs if needed, and then kind of grind that smooth again so it's not so rough driving through. the marginal here in town. Then just district bridge rehab, a bridge on Wyoming 374 at mile marker 82. We'll be rehabbing that bridge. And then the N Street Bridge replacement out by the Civic Center in Rock Springs. That one's a funded project from the federal government where it's 100% funded for the city of Rock Springs. So that was a cool program that came out during COVID. And so we'll be replacing that bridge here shortly, next year. In fiscal year 26, on 530 from here in town, pretty much to mile marker 8 up the hill, we're gonna mill overlay and chip seal that section roadway. Then we also have another bridge rehabilitation project, bridge on I-80 at mile marker 89. That's here in town. That one's gonna be difficult when we do it, because it's got a spot that's hard to get people around. So we're still working on that plan, the traffic control plan. Couple years ago, we did one here on 530 right in town over by the McDonald's. We didn't do the other one. I got asked a lot of questions. It's because it's on this project a few years later. So we'll come through and do that bridge as well. And then on Wyoming 28, mile marker 102, there's another bridge that we'll rehab out there. To tag along with that, on the replace conduit and luminaires, that's for the one here in town. So they're gonna replace the lighting on that particular bridge or over the river there. In 2027, we got another I-80 project. In this county, that's one of my themes. I try to get an I-80 project every year at least. This one's from mile marker 162 to 174, getting a little further away, out kind of by the Patrick Draw area. Both sides, mill overlay, workhorse, and bridges that need rehab, we'll rehab those. Then we have a center line and edge line markings project. I-80 eastbound and westbound, mile marker 107 to 121. That's through Rock Springs. I don't know if you've noticed the little dashes. Those aren't actual paint. They're thermoplastic tape that we put down. They last a heck of a lot longer than paint normally does. But those ones are starting to wear out and we're losing some of them. So we got a project coming in a couple of years that will come and replace all those. Then we got another district rehab or replacement project. We get it in a few replacement projects where we're replacing the whole deck. I-80 at mile marker 130. So this one is both bridges. They're at the Pointer Rocks interchange. We're gonna have to take the whole deck off the top of those and put on new decks. And then another rehab, the UP Railroad in Green River here in town. It's the one going up and over. We have some repairs underneath, and being that I live here, you come around that loop, it seems like every year there's a big black snake that comes out. It's that expansion joint that pops out of it. Every year sometime it seems like that thing comes out. So we're hopefully gonna go fix that permanently. In fiscal year 27, we have US 191 South mile marker. It's basically it's mile marker 539 to 545. It's just south of all the county buildings and the jail out there, going south towards Utah. Then we have US 30 mile marker 99. We're gonna put in a overhead sign for more notification. Then we have a road closure system project that's going to go out and replace a lot of the current road closures gates, and maybe add a couple new ones, but generally it's just to revamp and make sure that our road closure systems are working and in good standing. In fiscal year 28, I have I-80 again, mile marker 92 to 99. That's in between the two towns. East and westbound side, so I don't know how many people know this, but that was originally built in concrete. And then a few years later, we went and put it's called the Nova chip. It's a very thick workhorse over the top of that concrete to kind of help with the winter months and the grip and keeping cars on the road. That's why you have the consistent lines all the way in between town. Well, the concrete's moving a little bit, which is why you have all the cracks from the concrete there. We're gonna go remove that top surface, that workhorse surface, and then seal all the joints again and come back in and put a new workhorse over the top of it. So then it'll be like a brand new road again. And then 530, mile marker 38 to 45. That's a mill level and overlay. This spot is notorious. Is this clear to the border? Okay, this is down by the border, so closer to Manila there. Then we have more bridge replacements that year. A bunch on I-80 at mile marker 145, 150, 152. And then county bridge replacements. Again, that's that program I was talking about with the N Street Bridge in Rock Springs. The county jumped on a couple of them, and we got one over the Big Sandy River on County Road 5, and then Red Creek on County Road 62. $2029, getting towards the back end, another I-80 project from 153 to 162. That's a little bit closer to Wamsutter. And then US 530, 25 to 33. This is the one I was thinking of. If you've ever driven down the lake on this side, there's that spot that always looks patched. It can get really bumpy, especially if you have a boat or a heavy trailer. That's that section. Hopefully we can get deeper down and get that whole spot taken care of, to where it doesn't do that as bad. 2030, a bunch of district bridge rehabilitations on US 30, 530, 191, a couple on 430 and 376, a bunch of bridges. I-80 mile marker 74 to 187, again out near Wamsutter, mill overlay and workhorse, both sides. And then we have a future project list. So last year, due to funding, I had to move a lot of last year's stuff into this year. And all that did was make everything just move further out. So I have this big giant delayed list now, or we call it the future project list. So we have an I-80 project for Crescent Junction out there. The Belt Loop into Rock Springs is on that list. US 191 South and a couple different places, and mill overlay projects. A couple more on 530 here, where there's one that's literally right through town, that first one. Then we have 374 in that list, from not only from the exit up here, right here in town, all the way to the interstate, if you go by Love's on that road, but then also from the interstate on the other side of the interstate all the way to Little America. Those are both in the plan, but due to the fact that they're not highly used roads, they've been kicked down the road a little bit, but I do plan to get to them. So that's all the projects. Our contact information for the district is there, the 352-3000. John Edens is our district engineer. He would have liked to have been here, but he has to be up for more landfill stuff up, or landslide stuff up in Jackson today. Myself, district construction engineer. Tori Thomas is our district maintenance engineer, and Darren Kaufman is our traffic engineer. And again, like I said earlier, Clint and Brad are our two resident engineers. Get a hold of us at any time. And then the STIP link is provided there. If needed, I can also send someone the slideshow, and you guys can all have a copy if you'd like. So with that, are there any questions?
Thanks, Pete and gentlemen, for coming over and keeping us in the loop. We look forward to this every year. It seems like it's always good to have a plan and be futuristic, and then you get a curveball like Teton Pass. And I did want to commend your guys' efforts for that. That was a quick call to action, and I think it was 2.5 weeks. It was back open, or 3, close to it. Either way, that's tremendous work. So job well done on that. And it's exciting to see some of the different projects. A lot of those you've identified, you know, we hear about too, and that's kind of been our response since the first time we went through this a year ago. Was they're aware, it's on their list, and you know, so we appreciate that.
One of the popular questions I got last year was, out east of town, we were paving that stuff that looked brand new. And that potholy section that's getting worked on this year, everybody's like, how come you're not doing that this year? Well, it's in the plan. And the other spot was too thin. Otherwise, it would do the same thing. So yeah, no, it's good to have partners. Thank you.
Questions or comments, commissioners? Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just thanks for the update. I also wanted to thank YDOT for the cooperation with the SWAT organization and help getting the trail system at least moving forward. YDOT hadn't have contributed, that probably would have gone nowhere. So
Yeah.
it's always good to see, you know, organizations have a tendency to keep their blinders on and roads, and the public thinks the same way. So it was good to have YDOT kind of step out of the box, so to speak, and move some good things forward. So thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, commissioners? Well, thanks again. Good
Thank
luck
you.
with future projects and future funding, and hopefully you don't have any NDs in the future. I think that's enough for probably the next little while for you guys, but keep up the good work, and we certainly appreciate the collaboration and partnership.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, guys. And you got us right on track, just like I thought, so that's always
I
appreciated
usually
too.
talk too much, so.
Well, we're back right on time. Thank you all. Next on the agenda is item number 5, commissioners. We've got the award of the construction manager at risk, the CMAR, with the guaranteed maximum price GMP contract to Grow House Construction for the Sweetwater County Public Works Combined Facility Renovation. Here to give us some information on that is Public Works Director Gene Legursky. And good morning to you, Gene.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have to apologize. I think it's the first time ever in this room that you've had 5 engineers and 5 politicians. So I'm surprised the building didn't blow up. So I'll just apologize for that right off the bat. You can reduce it right now. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
All we
We're
need is a
back,
few
we're
more
back to
attorneys.
normal. We're back to normal now. What you have before you is a project that we've been working on for almost 3 years now. As you guys know, we did a hard bid. It came in way over budget in January. So we took a look at it, and with your guys' permission, we went out for a construction manager at risk. Unfortunately, we only received one proposal from a qualified construction manager at risk company. The other one that was going to do it, the college beat us out. They got their project out on the street before that, so they got the nursing building, so it slowed everything down just a little bit. A lot of money out there in construction, a lot of free money. I use that term loosely. A lot of money coming pumped in from the government, so construction's hard right now. It's hard for materials. It's hard for finding people. It's hard for finding qualified companies. However, I think Roadhouse has done a lot of projects in Sweetwater County. If you guys had a chance to review their proposal that I included, you know, the last big project they did for us was the Justice Center. And that project went well. No construction project goes perfect. I'll be the first to admit that. There's always challenges on everything, but that project went very well. And I think it's a building that we can be proud of, and we're hoping that that dovetails into this. So what you have before you is a construction manager at risk with a guaranteed maximum price. That's actually a 2-step process. So if you guys approve this today, what we'll do is you guys will sign the construction manager at risk contract. We'll give it back to Grow House during their pre-construction. They'll work with us and try to submit a guaranteed maximum price to us. That will come back to you guys for approval. And that will be inserted as an addendum to this contract. So that will make up the whole entire contract with that. So once we see that, we go through it. They've actually been talking to the architect about different flooring options and different things to try to figure out how to control costs on that. one of the nice things about Groat House is in their proposal, when they go out for local subs and everything like that, some CMR contracts, you never see those sub bids. Groat House will publicly open all of their subcontractor bids. So we'll be present, they'll be present if the public wants to go, you know, most people don't come to bid lettings, but they'll actually be out there, so we'll see that. So I think that's a really interesting twist and adds to the transparency of this. So what I really ask for you guys to do is to go through this CMR contract, approach it, realize that I will be back once we have negotiated the guaranteed maximum price for that. Legals went through this. We had a couple questions that we sent to Groat House and Plan One and got it not really ironed out, just misunderstanding between us to make sure that we were both on the same page and heading in the right direction. So for that, I stand for any questions.
Thanks, Gene. Appreciate the background on that. Any questions on this CMAR contract, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the CMAR contract with Groat House Construction Incorporated and allow the chairman to sign all necessary documents and the Public Works Director to direct the contractor to finalize a guaranteed maximum price GMP.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion on the award? Hopefully the second round brings pricing in line, and you know, I think the benefit of the CMAR is, like you said, you can work together with different value engineering rather than just kind of a design spec bid package. So
I think one of the things that we found out doing that, and you always know when you put out a hard bid, is you have to go exactly by that. You can't use the intuition and the innovativeness of the design guy with the contractor to do that. And, you know, one of the things is we spec a generator. We spec the generator that we use for all of our buildings that makes it really easy for parts and everything like that. Just with that change alone, we could have saved $200,000. Got the exact same wattage generator by a good, reputable generator company, but because we used a different brand, it could have saved $200,000. So I think that's what I'm hoping this will really provide.
all right, well, good luck. We appreciate your work on that and keep us posted. Do you have a motion and a second on the table? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving right along into item 6, under the action and presentation items is a chip seal project change order number 1, and we'll hand it back to Gene.
So this was a project that you guys approved several months ago. It's just about done. The project went fairly well. Took about 9 days to do, 18.5 miles. On that, we had to overrun the actual chip seal oil. And the reason we did that is it's not really a guess, but there's a range that we give the contractor to make sure when they spray the chip seal oil to embed the chips, that this is what they need to use so we can get a definite hard bid quantity. After you spray it and you do test strips, you realize that the asphalt is absorbing or not absorbing the material as you need to actually get good chip embedment. So we actually raised it just a little bit. To give you an example, we actually raised this quantity by 0.4 gallons per square yard. And if you allow me to dive into the geek out process of my engineering mind, that's 11 tablespoons per square yard is what we increased the oil is all.
No kidding.
Yeah. To make sure that we were getting the good chip embedment, so that translated into a better project long-term. You know, that's a field call. We got to do that by looking at it, testing it, going through what they were doing. And, you know, we added 11 tablespoons per square yard on 18.5 miles of road, and that resulted in this change order. We got a great project out of it. It looks good if you've driven out to any of the mine roads, Jenner, Shishi Jam, Granger, Tata, all those roads got done in a very successful project. We're still waiting on the chip seal stripers to come down, and they did the center line and edge striping, but they had to wait 30 days for all the volatiles to come out of that so we could stripe it again. And they're doing that, and this project will be done. But that's what this change order is for, is we had to increase the chip seal oil to make sure that we got a good project out of it. We reduced the blotter and some other things on this to try to make it about even, but we missed it by about $18,000. But we really added 11 tablespoons of oil per square yard to the road.
Well, I find that fascinating, regardless of how, I don't know what term you used, geeky or whatever it was, maybe. It's pretty amazing. It makes that big of a difference.
Yep.
Questions on this change order, commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman.
How come the original price was 1.29 million and the contract price incorporating the change went down to 1.188 after you added 18,000 more?
That is a typo
Ah,
that I did not catch, it looks like.
okay,
Yeah, so it's an increase. So I will get you the new thing. I apologize for not seeing that. And we'll get you a new one.
okay. I thought I couldn't add or
No,
something. Okay,
No, I can't add.
okay.
Maybe I had
See,
to put
I
on my
thought-
glasses or take them off. I don't know which I did.
Very good, Commissioner.
Very good.
Nice catch. The rest of us
Okay.
didn't.
Yeah, so it's an increased change order.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It got subtracted instead of increased or
Yep.
something. Okay.
Nice
Do I
catch,
get a
Commissioner.
star for the day, Mr. Chairman?
What's that?
Do I get a star?
You most certainly do. Any other questions on the change order, Commissioners? Nice
Thanks,
catch.
Jean. Mhm.
If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve change order number 1 for the 2024 chip seal project in the amount of $18,423.49 and allow the chairman to sign.
Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion with the correction.
Got a motion by Commissioner Toman with the noted typographical error corrected. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. And lastly here, before we take a quick lunch break, is the approval of a sign for the USDA Forest Service and Sweetwater County Conservation District, and we'll hand it back to Gene.
What the Forest Service, and Sweetwater Conservation District is, they're having problems directing people to the Roosevelt Building. You know where the address is, it's still kind of hard to find. So what they would like to do is install a sign, out somewhere around the UNA Way or UNA Drive, road. They will have to go through a YDOT process if it is in the right of way. Regardless, they have to go through the city process. However, we do own that property. So we have to sign the appropriate permit for the city. I think it's a good idea. The sign's pretty ambiguous. It just says, with the direction arrow coming both ways, this is where you got to go for these people. So I think wayfinding signs are always good. Especially since the Forest Service is in that building and most people don't know it. They're looking for it. That building's been called several different things over the years. And people just don't know where it's at. So Google's wrong. We'll just put it on Google.
Very good. Questions on the sign, Commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolman?
Does smart sign mean that it's a computerized thing that we
No,
can change it?
Not a
later?
smart sign. It's a wayfinding sign. Sorry if I use the term smart sign. It's a green sign. I believe there's some examples
Okay. All right.
on the back part of your package. It's just an arrow, green arrow that you see out there. The smart sign that is going bad on the side of the building, we are currently talking up there. They're losing some pixels out on that board and they're trying to figure out exactly what to do.
Yeah, and I believe the example you were referring to is off of smartsign.com.
Yeah,
So that's probably a
Yeah.
little bit of
Yeah.
confusion. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the sign and allow the chairman to sign all necessary documents contingent on YDOT and the city of Green River giving their approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Toman,
I'd make a motion to approve this sign and allow the chairman to sign all necessary documents contingent on YDOT and the city of Green River giving their approval.
you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Toman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Gene.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Got us ahead of schedule like usual. With that, we are going to break for lunch. Our next item will resume at 1:15 upon our return, which is a change order ratification for the door lock expansion project. And we'll resume at 1:15.